gis nañ ne tey ay different political party ñoo fi ñëw and di wax about coalition for a system change yow lan mooy sa teg si loolu and do you think that will be success?
xam nga fi mu ne Gambia moom élection bu nekk propaganda moo ko dee gañ propaganda mooy wax yoo xam ne dañ ko dee wax rek pour gëmloo ko nit ñi ba loolu affect nit ñi ni ñoo sànnee karta léegi-léeg propaganda bi nekk dëgga léegi-léeg bi nekk dëgga fi mu nekk la lu ñu ñëpp di wax mooy ne coalition dafa war a am ndax ñu mun a daaneel Barrow su coalition amul dara du mun a Barrow duñ ko mun a daaneel man nag dama dee wax ne loolu du dëgga parce que Barrow mun naa daanu te coalition amut in fact sax Barrow dafa bëgg bu coalition am su ko defee gëmloo nit ñi ne Barrow dafa win su ko defee ñeneen ñi saanil ko ba ñeneen ñi toog seen kër yi yaakaar ne du daan moom loolu la bëgg ci propaganda boobu waaye liy dëgg mooy kenn nit mun na koo daane waaye nag ndax óor na pour dem ak kenn nit ndax óor na pour ñu am many candidates yoo xam ne ñoom ñëpp ñu ngi jongantee Barrow suñ defee loolu mu ngi mel ni karta yi dafa tasaaroo te su boobaa tam risque la ne Barrow mun naa leen so pour ñu avoid risque boobu noonu pour ñu am greater assurance pour ñu gën a dalal xel ne bii boom Barrow moom jeexal na day paak bagaasam ak njabootam dem bon opposition bi ñu bokka doon benn jiital benn candidate moo ci gën waaye ndax loolu mun naa am ndax opposition bi yëpp mun nañoo ñëw nekk benn xëj na lii moo likely am mooy you would have a coalition of like minds nga am 2-3 coalitions yoo xam ne ñoom ñëpp dañoo taxawal seen candidate ñu jàngantee Barrow xëj na dina am 4, 5 ba 6 candidates sax loolu yëpp mun naa am it's not realistic fi mu nekk fi politique yi réew mi toll pour yaakaar rek ne benn coalition dafa am for all oppositions awma ci loolu yaakaar li ma yaakaar mooy ne xëj na dina am a few coalitions of like minds yoo xam ne tam soo leen boole xëj na benn bu ci nekk war naa mun a daaneel Barrow so man loolu laa yaakaar ne xëj na loolu mooy am waaye that is speculation suma xalaati bopp la rek ñun ñëpp li ñoo aim fo mooy opposition yi yëpp ñëw nekk benn loolu la ñoo aim fo waaye ñu ngi aim fo loo xam ne it is unlikely to happen we have to be realistic so noonu la si suma gis-gis.
mooy ne gis nañ ne tey ay different political party ñoo fi ñëw and di wax about coalition for a system change yow lan mooy sa teg si loolu and do you think that will be success?
waaw suma xalaat ci loolu mooy maanaam tey lu ñu fi andi parce que boo gisee ñu ñëw mooy ne am nañ yaakaar ne bu fekkee ne fa mu war a jaar na fa mun naa succeed mbiri coalition building moom li si ëpp njëriñ mooy yoon bi nga xam ne fa la moo jaar ndax ña nga xam ne ñooy membres yi ña nga xam ne ñooy participants yi benn yemale nañ leen loolu dafa am solo foog ñu yemale ñëpp bokk yi am si kanam ñi nga xam ne ñooy ut ak kanam réew mi loolu dafa am solo pour mu succeed loolu dafa am solo benn ñaareel bi trust foog óoluwante am óoluwante boobu nag ñi nga xam ne ñoo koy def mooy ñi organise ñoom ñooy fexe ba nga xam ne ni ñi jàkkaarloo kenn ku nekk si ñoom mun leen a trust waaye nag su fekkee ne dafay dem situation nga gis ne am na koo xam ne am na luñ ko xaasal am na koo xam ne am na daraja buñ ko jox am kuñ génnee yu demee noonu dafa tax trust de si am su boobaa nag dem kanam dafa jafe beneen mbir boo xam ne bëgg naa koo dégg mooy involvement of the Gambian people at the end of the day suñ dajalee tànn kenn kooka moomu nit ñi mënta contrôle nit yi ñoom ñooy tànn ki leen neex sànni ko leen neex so in fact even forging a coalition ba am kenn loolu is benn step la si series of steps yi nga xam ne moom nga war a jël waaye nag at the end of the day involving the people dafa am solo parce que at the end of the day ñoom ñooy ñëw tànn ñoo ñëw sànni ba pare leneen loo xam ne tam moom laa ci wax loo xam ne dana determine success am mooy ñi nga xam ne ñoo ko organise nañ dellu la jànga mbooleem loo xam ne andi woon na gàllankoor jafe-jafe si coalition 2016 coalition 2016 waruñ ko rek di tudde ne jàll na passé na déedéet dafa war a nekk lesson so mbooleem koo xam ne yaa ngi organise coalition war nga jàng si erreur si fol si ñàkk a jaar yoon si lépp loo xam ne maanaam xewoon na si 2016 nga mun a make sure ne nga avoid ko yow si li nga xam ne moom ngay biir su boobaa yàlla mun naa def barke am ci mu jàlla.
so lu tax nga gom ñu organise coalition bi la moo tax loo gis si gars seen mbir yi lu la defee triga pour nga gom gars ne yow tam nga ñëw léegi man tamit dama bëgg a bokk si coalition.
waaw maanaam pour tabax réew mi maanaam amut comme ñi nga xam ne ñoo organise nekkoon na am na luñ seet si ñoom wala luñ gis si ñoom ba tax ñu war a ñëw ne dañoo déglu si understand nga so not necessarily bokk nañ waaye dañuy ñëw pour déglu gis lan la ñu wax sa nit bu la ooyee foo nga ñëw déglu ko mu wax la lim la ooyee den foo naa ne tey loolu la benn ñaareel bi ki la su la nit ooyee te especially sax koo xam ne wax dëgg yàlla yow ëppuloo ko xam-xam ëppuloo ko xelaat moo la mag moo la njëkk si àdduna oola ne la ñëwal ñu bokk defar suñu réew yow tam li la war mooy nga dem uy ji su boobaa nag la nga xam ne mooy waral next phase yi ba xam ndax yaa nga ci biir wala ànd nga ci biir wala demee noonu mooy la nga xam ne moom lañ laa wax ak la nga xam ne moom lañ laa wan so ñu ngi ba tey rek at the end of the day comme ñu ngi ñëw rek ba tey ubbi suñuy buntage suñu dënn pour déglu leen gën a déglu gën a bàyyi xel ci li nga xam ne moom la ñu wax waaye afterwards nag incha allahu taala li nga xam ne moo fiy juddoo moo fiy tukkee ñoom moom la ñu wax loolu mooy détermine ñun ban step la ñoo jël ak naka la ñoo demee.
A lot of you people, different political heads, has come together to form a coalition for a change. Oh, there is a board that called you guys to join together to form a coalition for system change. Do you think this will succeed, or do you think it will fail? And any of this, if yes or no, in any sides, what are some of the reasons that you think would be a result of those things?
Well, I came to attend because I believe it has a high chance of success. You know, if it succeeds or fails, it is the result of our own effort. It's not something that's, you know, any human-led endeavor doesn't have a predestined outcome. You know, whether it succeeds or not is a function of the effort you put in. It's a function of the seriousness. It's a function of the commitment. So this thing, the Coalition for System Change, is an initiative led by Gambians. They approach us like other political groups that they are trying to form a united front for opposition, because if we are fragmented, the chances of defeating the incumbent will be low. So we feel that that is a noble cause. And the reason I entered politics, the reason why people are with me in my political party, in our political party we've created, is to make sure that we bring in a new system. And that system, that means a change in government. And if a group is trying to basically shepherd a process to make sure that that change happen, like it did in 2016, I think we all owe them our utmost commitment to make sure it works. 2016 was not a complete success because while Yahya Jammeh was defeated, we got a system that really didn't, that wasn't fundamentally different from what was in there. So developments that we were expecting to happen never occurred. We are in a situation where in many ways things have been worse than they have been. So now, is this thing guaranteed to succeed or not? Nobody knows for sure. But I think a big part of its success or failure is in our hands. So we've come here to do our part, be part of it, do all what we can, make sure that we come together, and then the change that we need for 2026 happens. That's why we are in it, and we hope and pray that it succeeds.
Okay, and then one more thing. We have realized that some other political parties are not on ground, yes, and then which we believe maybe they have reached out to them. Understand? But then, do you think you will have one coalition against the government, looking at the way the system in politics is going right now?
Yeah. Well, I don't know whether we'll have... yes, it's true that not all political parties were present today, but this is just the first meeting. And we hope that as time goes on, more and more of them, some of them have legitimate reasons for not being here, others, I'm not too sure why not, but we hope that as time goes on, more and more political parties will come and join. And whether or not we'll have one coalition is hard to tell, but I sincerely hope that there's a great potential for having a single coalition so that the government of Adam Barrow can be defeated soundly in the 2026 election.
Ways that we can make our country a better place to live, make our country a place that we can be proud of, and a heritage that we can reflect on as our legacy, that we, when it was necessary, we stood up to bring about the change that is necessary to bring Gambia to the next level. With that said, with the different faith groups that we have here, I am going to ask that we take a minute of silent praise before we get started. Commencing now, please. Thank you. See, this program that we have here was sponsored by solely the executive members of the Coalition for System Change. I am going to recognize those individuals that have participated as members of the executive of Coalition for System Change. First, Joe is a dynamic individual who lives in Illinois in the US and has been committed to working for Gambia. He has been a very strong advocate. Between Joe Sambu, myself, Eba Kun, and a few more other Gambians, we started way back then in trying to bring about coalitions for Gambia, dating back to 2006. So we have been there. But I wanted to recognize his contributions, not just time and resources, but finance as well. We spent about $150,000, sorry, $150,000 is it 150 or 250? $250,000 is solely from the list of people that I'm going to be calling out here to make today possible. Joe is the vice chairperson to the Coalition for System Change. And I'm facilitating this event today. Among other things, we've been having meetings since about a year and a half ago. On July the 4th of last year, we had a meeting in Atlanta, Georgia, where we started conversations about the strategy for going forward. And that is what led us to today. The decision that we made to come to Gambia today was to make it easy and to take away any excuse anybody would have for not wanting to be here today. We knew parties and stakeholders to come to the States. That's my role here. I also would like to recognize Dr. Baibiran Jai. Baibiran is our treasurer. And for many, many nights, many days, and a lot of hours, we sit and we have meetings, we strategize, and he's been very patient. Okay? And I wanted to recognize him also for his contribution to making today a possibility. Without our Secretary General, Mr. Saul Badi, with whom I know you guys have seen a lot of communication from him. He is, by the way, he's managing our website and also monitoring our email. So if anybody is interested in any information, additional information, some of the documents that I shared has our email address. All right? Shoot him an email and I'm sure he will respond within the day. His name is Saul Badi and he's the Secretary General, he's the Secretary for this organization, Coalition for System Change. Ashimi Senka. A lot of people call her Ayuka or Ayu Senka. Is another dynamic individual who has been relentless in helping to make this event possible. She is responsible for our mass movement. And why mass movement? I'm sure Keba or Dr. Jai will touch upon that, so I won't elaborate that. But I wanted to recognize her as well. Our grassroots mobilizer and chair for that division, her name is Yesa Samba Jawara. Yesa happens to be in the States, that's the reason why she's not here, but I will be remiss if I don't recognize her as well. She has contributed immensely, helped us make a lot of arrangements on the ground with the contacts that she has to make today a possibility. And we have a very humble, very generous individual with his time, his resources, and his energy. But he has chosen that he doesn't want to be mentioned because of his, again, he's a very humble gentleman. He doesn't like the limelight. But I wanted to recognize him anonymously. Sir, thank you for your service. And finally, I want to recognize the chairperson, our chairman, Mr. Keba Kun, whose vision, among other things, led us to where we are today. Keba and Joe started the initiative. And then I received a call from Joe telling me, Myla, we're back at it. And I asked, back at what? He said, we're going to put the saddle back on the horse and we're going to ride again. I said, count me on. Because it's a right that I love to have. It is a right that we need to have. And it is a right that we must have. With
a good health system to give you a good water supply, to give you 24 hours electricity uninterrupted, is used by few people to improve their own lives. We can see it. Only in the Gambia, only in Africa, someone will become a minister, and in few years, their life will totally change. They will have bigger houses, they will have 2-3 SUVs, they will live a very different life within 2 to 3 years. My friend, the salary of our ministers and our president cannot justify that transition within a 5-year period. My uncle used to say that su suuf si ëppantee rek dañ ko jàpp. Meaning, if someone can have that transformation in 5 years and live a luxury life, something is not right. That is, simply put, corruption at its core. And it's affecting every citizen of this country, affecting your life. Ladies and gentlemen, when I'm in the United States, I don't worry about my electricity. I don't worry about my water supply, 24 hours. If my electricity goes out, I'm calling the electric company and say, hey, what's going on here? That is unacceptable. It should not happen.
1965. Pre-1965, but 1965 when we became an independent country. There's no system here. And so that is the reason why we rally behind the coalition for system change, why the diaspora was invested in advocating for good governance in the Gambia, why we arrived at 2006, the year that the National Association for Democracy and Development was thinking about a coalition that would contest the elections against the Gambia government in 2006. It never materialized because of the differences in the political equation or the political thinking, should I say, of the political leaders. You own your parties, you don't care about the visions, the aspirations of your members. You run these parties as if they belong to you. People don't want to hear that, but that is the reality. That was what got us here. In 2025, still no progress, no development in this country that you can write about. Yes, of course we are moving. It's a country. Before you damage it, it's going to take time, and it does take time, really, to completely damage a country. So in those advocacies that were predominantly taking place in the diaspora, and mainly in the United States of America, you have the Gambia Post and the Gambia Herald. You know, those were the days. But the advocacy was good. So eventually we arrived at the National Association for Democracy and Development. The goal of that was the creation of an alliance to put an end to self-perpetuating rule, to ensure the empowerment of the people so that they can participate in sustainable development. Did it work? NAD itself collapsed because of the attitude mainly of the party leaders. not the parties, the party leaders who own the parties. It was always like that. I didn't need to go back on what Keba said when Sadada was no more. The governing got party for 32 years just collapsed like that. One day it's gone, disappeared, because the government was no longer there. The NCP never came to power, so it was the People's Party. But when he died, the party died with him. So the party was lucky. It was included in the 2016 coalition organizations. But really, that was just a sign. There was no NCP in 2016. There was no NCP in 2016. So what the road to 2026, you need to approach it very, very carefully. It's not removing the president. That is the key objective. That, of course, is very important. But what we do when the government collapses, as we are hoping it will in 2026, what do? We need billions for 2026. Parties and party leaders and individuals with the capacity to build a system in this country that we can all be proud of. The white people are no better than us. We studied with them, we went to schools, state schools and universities with them. We worked with them. We challenged them at all levels, but we challenged them within their systems. We succeeded immensely because they had systems that everybody must survive. But yes, when achievers, men and women who performed excellently in other people's countries, when they come to their own countries, they feel miserable. That was what Dr. again said. System was designed to ensure failure when you enter that system. People ask me why you didn't work with government. Barrow wanted you to be his legal advisor. That was never told to me. But if it was, then obviously I wouldn't take it. Because I said I'm going to go to State House and be controlled by individuals who didn't complete primary school. Now that would be a tragedy if you believe in yourself, if you believe in your education. I was not going to do that. Yes. People say, well, why don't you work for the government? I said, I only work for a government that I trust. Yes. But of course I know I have other things to do. Like my good friend here, as Afal said, what did he say when people criticized people like Dr. Sisi and others? Obviously, what do you expect? He's a professor. He can do what he wants to do. He can work for who he wants to work for. He's under no compulsion to accept nonsense and call it government. But others really have no options. You work for the government or you struggle for your life. People would say that is not the case. It is the case. That is the reality. In the case of Doctor, it was not like, he was not working, but maybe he was aspiring to a level where his current employment or his employment then could not provide that to him. So obviously, and of course, these were men and sometimes women who participated, not necessarily in the struggle, but of course in ensuring that we do have system change in the Gambia. And all of a sudden, they are in the middle, in the bowels of that system, and they couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't change the system at all. So this is why, for us at the NUP, we believe in system change, because we believe it is the only thing that can take us to the promised land. We shouldn't be comparing individuals. Human beings are created the same way. We all have our problems. Even in democratic countries, they all have their problems as human beings. But a system is created that is there to ensure that everybody is treated fairly within the system. Once we are not able to change the system, we can change precedents as much as we want. But this same system will continue. It will ensure that we do not move from point A to point B. We will be stuck. And that is the reason why we are saying we are behind the Coalition for System Change, our vision. These are men and women who have been at the forefront of the struggle. I worked with them over the years. I've not seen some of them in person, but I heard of them. I heard of Myla, I heard of Dr. Kebafon, I heard of Dr. Aswa, I heard of Joe Sambu and other people. So obviously they're comfortable where they are. They can decide to say, okay, why should we bother with Gambian politics? And so we need a system, a Republican government, limited budget and democratic principles, and at the end of the day, accountable to the people of the Gambia and sustained through them. So you are accountable to the people, you are sustained by it. That is what we want. We should support this endeavor to ensure that we have a coalition government to defeat the incumbent government, but not only that, to take this country where it is bound to be. And in that process, we should be mindful of those with capacity to build the system. There is no system here. You are going to have to build it. And nobody should be allowed to lead the coalition who does not have the capacity to build the system. You are advised by other people, but you must yourself have that ability to build a system that can take this country forward. Thank you very much. We are behind. Thank you.
Mr. Bowler, I believe he's representing DGC. Is Bowler here?
Yes.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to the organizers. Good afternoon to party leaders and party representatives that are present here. Good afternoon to the media and to the CSOs and the movement leaders that are here. First of all, I would like to recognize this great gathering. It is the way forward to have a new Gambia, whereby we will not only change the system, but at the same time in addressing the problems to meet the needs and the aspirations of the Gambian people. We all have seen what's happened after the 2016 change. There was high hope that we are going to be introduced to a new system that is not only going to be based on self-development, but at least in meeting the problems and the aspirations of all Gambians. Looking at all the sectors that are in the government, you can see that every sector is collapsing by the day. Now the ball is in our court. What are we going to do as concerned Gambians? Should we allow each one of us to work on our own, or should we all come together for the common good of this country? Now that's the call I believe the GDC as a party is always ready to answer. That's why we always make this loud and clear that we are open to any coalition that is genuine and any coalition that is meant to develop this country. And we believe that this call that we answer is going to be one of the calls that all of us were yearning for the years. I must say this, that right now, looking at the situation in this country, obviously nobody is happy with it. Even though if you are part of those that are appointed by the president, or you are elected at the local level, or national assembly, or even mayor, we can see that everything in this country is become very difficult every day. So now, as we gather here, we believe that it is a very genuine call that in the event that in 2026, we are able to do what is necessary. We are able to do what all the Gambian people want, or most of the Gambian people want. I believe it is going to be something different from what we are having now. And right now, looking at most of the party leaders that are here, I believe their efforts are directed in saving this country. Because while the country is dominated by young people, if you look at the number of women or the population of women in this country, we will get to realize that still now women are crying daily. They are becoming very difficult in everything that they are engaging in. So now the same people are the ones that are running after almost all political party leaders. The same people are the ones that are running after movement leaders. So I believe what they are calling for, that is for all of us to forget about our parties, for all of us now to see Gambia, for all of us to see that our efforts can be redirected, not only on our parties, but our efforts can be directed, our resources can be shared, our manifestos can also be shared, so that at least we can have a common ground for 2026. And I want to say this, GDC party leader, that is Honorable Kande, wanted to be here, but he is not in town. He left for Turkey last week, and he is yet to back in this country. So that's why he is represented by the Admin Secretary, my very self, and the GDC Head of Logistics, that is Modu Balde. So this is exactly what we are hoping for as a party, and this is exactly what we believe that we can achieve in 2026. Because every day is getting hard, the economy is in shambles. If you look at the educational sector that you just highlighted here, obviously we believe that it is not an educational sector that is addressing the needs on the ground. So looking at the health sector, it's the same problem. And we cannot achieve what we want as a country if our education system continues with the same trends. So therefore, I believe more parties will come on board. I believe more CSOs will come on board, and more movements also will come on board, inshallah, to have a system that we need. Because as the word of Rus when he said, Sohla Sude Bena, Fukini Bogako, Suipolo Kena Munakodo. So I believe at the end of the day, we cannot have everybody to be president when our problems are the same, when what we always communicate through the media or in our political rallies is the same message. So I believe it should be very easy for all of us to come together. Because in building this country, we don't only need a president, but we also need a good team that can be there to work with the president, that can be there to work with the Gambian people. In 2016, we have a president, but the system remains the same. But this time, I think if we all want to direct our energy, that I want to be the president or I must be the president, it's going to be very difficult. We can have a president, but at the end of the day, whether we will end up having a good team. So I believe all of us that are here and still now maintaining our ground, I believe all of us, we are very genuine when it comes to the cause of this country. So if you look at most of these party leaders, all of them have the same opportunity so that they can work for the government, because the present day government is looking forward to artist number. So, and right now, if you look at the trajectory, every day their efforts is directed in increasing their base. So we, the opposition, if we are to be divided, it's going to be very difficult for us to get what we want. And at the end of the day, it's going to be the same problem. That's why I have seen certain calls that are made by young people, that in the event that we fail to come together, indeed we will know that it is the opposition leaders or opposition parties that have failed this country. So I believe that let us try and honor it, but most importantly, let us get into something that is genuine, something that will address the needs and the aspirations of the Gambian people, something that we believe that it is going to be things that every Gambian was yearning for. And that is to come together genuinely, to know that these are the problems and how are we going to address these problems. And I believe once we come together, these are things that are going to be very easy for us. Once we come together, I believe even those that are sitting on the fence, they will jump down to join us as oppositions come together for 2026. Therefore, I call on everybody to take on this initiative in the event that we can also make our level best to reach out to anybody that we believe can add value to this call, so that at least we can have what we want in 2026. On that note, I thank you everybody for giving me the opportunity so that I can talk on behalf of the GDC. Thank you so much.
And for your speech. Next, we would like to invite Dr. Nadigo to please join us here. Do you want to use it? Yeah, if you don't mind. And then next I will have Imam Musa Jallo is here. Imam, okay. After Dr. Nadigo, you will be coming up next, please. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. I'll keep it quite brief. This is a familiar group. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of them, though not all. But I think every single one of them, I've at least had the honor of communicating with them. Not only in this particular initiative, but the other ones that preceded it. I wasn't actively involved in that, but as a student at the time in the US, I keenly followed its development. And before that, other initiatives that did not succeed, it wasn't for lack of effort, it wasn't for lack of time. So when I heard that these same individuals are again embarking on a new journey, it was something that I found very heartening. And I have to say, I'm honored to be part of this event. As everyone knows, I mean, it's kind of trite now to repeat this. This is a very pivotal moment. 10 years ago, we were all hoping for something very different. But what ended up transpiring has been quite different. It's been a very long 10 years. This is half of the generation. What has been lost cannot be regained. We have the responsibility, or more than that, a duty, to stem the bleeding, to stem the loss, and turn a new leaf. As a leader of a political, I cannot say a political party right now because we are not officially registered, but we've submitted our documents. But as a leader of a political association or group that hopes to become a political party soon, when I see my fellow citizens embarking on an initiative like this, that is hoping to bring a change, not just a change in a particular regime or a change in a particular office, but a system change. Because as we all know, as all these other speakers have pointed out very clearly and eloquently, what we need here is not just a change in a particular office or in a particular place, but a whole system. That is something we must take with great seriousness. Irrespective of what my party hopes to achieve as an individual party, or irrespective of what I hope to achieve as an individual who hopes to run for office, my greater responsibility I have is to make sure that come 2026, come December 2026, the change that happens, whether I'm leading that group or not, the change is something that happens that benefits the Gambia to the utmost of my ability. And I will do that, whatever investment I need to do, whatever effort I need to do, whatever little part I can do, I will make sure that I play that part. I know that CHC is not the only initiative that is embarking on bringing political parties together. But today I am here just like I will be supporting other initiatives. I want there to be no doubt whatsoever that this initiative deserves the utmost support of every Gambian. What I also like about this particular initiative here is that when I look in this audience here, I see not only leaders of political parties, but also CSOs, civil society organizations. This should not only be restricted to only political parties. And I'm quite happy to see that. I know not all political parties are here for one reason or another, but I do hope that as this process unfolds, that we will see more and more political parties, particularly the totality of all opposition parties. As I've pointed out many times before, when it comes to changing the situation we are in, it's not an individual office. It is not a particular position in government. It is a system, as we have all been saying here. But key in that is leadership. Because somebody has to be leading and somebody has to be shepherding. But that leadership takes many forms. One doesn't have to be the leader of the coalition to play that leadership role. We all can play that leadership role in our various ways. And I hope all of us here, those in attendance and those outside, are prepared to play that various roles. Finally, just one other thing to stress. I know if we talk about all of the problems that we have in the country here, we can go on and on. I've seen that Dr. Biran has had to, really, basically, reduce all the presentations they had to make, because if we had to go through the problems that we had, though I was a bit disappointed, I wish he had gone through all of those, because it was very important to see all those historical lessons that we all can benefit from hearing. But the thing that we have to really remember is that we cannot forget the lessons. As other speakers have pointed out, we all know why 2016 failed. And we need to make sure that 2026 doesn't fail the same way. Having a change, defeating Adama Barrow, but being stuck with this same system means we have failed. We can celebrate 2016 by saying that, okay, one aspect of it was achieved in 2016, the second aspect was achieved later. But 2 consecutive presidencies, we still have a change in leadership, we have a change in the system that doesn't result in development. That is a change we will have a great difficulty recovering from. And it is something that future generations will be asking each and every one of us what we have done to make sure that we didn't find our descendants living in a situation that could have been avoided, that could have been prevented. So let us take this responsibility very seriously. The duty that we have here is not what our individual political parties will achieve. It's not what we as individuals are going to have tomorrow in office, but what our descendants will have. Today, if you go to many parts of Banjul or any parts of these urban areas, they look no different from what they were in the 1980s. You bring somebody from Banjul in the 1980s, he can find himself or herself anywhere in Banjul. No direction. The same thing in Serekunda market. That is a shame. That is an immense level of failure. That's not something that should be possible 30 years from now on. Any one of us today, if we are to be transported into the future 30 years from now, our prayer should be that we need significant amount of help in finding our way, because our country should have been transformed. And if we do not succeed in 2026, I fear that same level of stagnation is what we are going to leave as a legacy for our children. And I pray that doesn't happen. Thank you very much.
I think what you said, simply put, is what is our legacy going to be? And that is a question we must all ask ourselves. When we leave here, when we leave this world, having had the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of many, what have we done? Are we going to put self first, or are we going to put country first? I choose to put country first. Keba Fung choose to put country first. Dr. John, Joe Sako, Yesa Jamara, all of us choose to put country first. We're playing our role, and we're asking you to play a role. history is going to judge us. Yes, history will judge us. Not by what we could have done, but what we did or didn't do. When we call, if we talk about duty, somebody spoke earlier about corruption and other issues that are going on in the country. I get concerned, I get really disappointed. Doctor, you mentioned about lack of development. I get heartbroken when I think about the students that stand along the highway hitching a ride to go to school or hitching a ride to get back home from school. I get heartbroken when I travel a country. I was a teacher. Back in America, I sat on the Providence School Board of Education for 9 years. I was a board vice president, and I managed a budget of $550 million. It's not like this. It's not like this. I called that place home for 38 years. I served them. What I could have done for my country. What I gained from there is very little compared to what other people have done, have gone through. And that's what we wish for our country. Coincidentally, Rhode Island, where I called home, is the same size as the Gambia in population and also in land area. We have work to do, and I'm confident that after today we will get there. Doctor, you mentioned that you would love to have had the slides read out. The slides are available on our website, coalitionforsystemchange.com, or you can send an email to coalitionforsystemchange@gmail.com and we will send it to you. I also wanted to share my personal phone number, and that is here in Gambia, that is 2200-800. Again, 2200-800, or 301-3060. My US number, 401-301-3060. For any information that you need, if I can facilitate anything, if I can hook up the media with a chairperson and our spokespersons for interviews, I'll be happy to do that. With that, I will call for Imam Musa Jami.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. My name is Musa Jami. Don't be surprised to see an imam talking about politics in this country. What is going on in this country is very tough. But it's caused by who? By we the Gambians. But nonetheless, I believe one day changes will come. Through what? Through Gambian people, not by individuals, not by emotions, but it's about you know what to do and how to do it. That's the most important thing we should do. I'm going to start with the Gambia. Please give me 10 minutes or more. I'm going to start with the Gambia. The Gambia. In the Gambia, you have your flag. We are having our flag as the Gambia. Let's start with that. You have our red, white, blue, white, green. What does that mean? I will just choose one, and then we proceed. Red means, as you all know, stand for the sun. But I said no, it's more than that. Red means Gambians are one people. If you cut a Mandinka, ya yellow, ya blue fat, menega yellow. You cut a jola, ya blue fat, menega yellow. You cut a fula, sa seki andumakolu, hogoyata iyan. And others cannot. It's like that. So Gambian people are one people. We need to have that courage. We need to have that belief and we are one people. I will repeat this, and every time I am into such gatherings, I repeat it, say it. The politicians should bring people together, not by the qaida, by what Machiavelli said, divide and rule. No, farrak tasud. No, we don't want that in Uganda. If that is going on, we need to rebel ourselves again. I know we are Gambians, and that red signify that the Gambian people are one people. That's number one. Number two, Nyambako, Gambia, more than today. Other politicians will be minu kulum, and minu bina, alkanamera katale tamugambia. The government, alkanamera katale tamugambia. Gambia belongs to Gambians, in and out. Aliyawalong Ife is fine. Almawalong Ife, the reality is the Gambia belongs to Gambian people. Bear that in mind. اجعل هذا في عقلك. For that means Gambian people. You have the Gambia, the boundary of the Gambia. You have the Gambian people. You have the government. Ñine mu nation, ñine mu banko, li moy suuf, li moy réew. Waaye lii soo xamul li ci war a dem, soo xamul naka lañ koy defee doo ko mën a def. Wax ju mooy bëri rek, waaye doo ko def. Looloo tax da nga am nit ñi moo tax ñu toog fii ay ne soo gisee nga bàyyi sa soxla nga ñëw fii dafa am loo amee loo bëgg wax nit ñi ne leen am na lu mbir mi di doxee baaxul nañ ko defee nii sooy xool sa bopp boo ko nii ke fan ne jógee iddaati ci boo jee ala te baraka kere la kootale no bari moolu yimɓe ɓe taki hangaɗen ɗo wona enen. Not us. Let me repeat it again. If you individualize your things or yourself, you think that it is you, know that it is not you. Because 50, 60, 70 years, you're going down to the graveyard. So it's not you, it's about people. It's about the future, not you. Let me come to the government. You know, you may say, I don't know how the Ustaz can get into politics. You will easily realize that there's a problem going on in the country. There's a problem going on in that government. I think the political leaders, it's high time for them to recheck themselves again not to put us in a mess again. All what is going on is true, is built by the politicians. You may agree with me, you may disagree, but I am saying what I see is the truth. Because today, the political leaders are the handlers controlling whatever we have in and out. So you want to tell me they have nothing to do? Thank you so much. Honey, Alnaga, Alnumira Dadaga, the mindset among better towards Nabango. Killing. You talk about constitution. I'm a feeling after spending a lot of money, OBD. We talk about security. My party is coming up, not yet registered. But I believe if we are not secured in and out, we will not develop. Security begins with the security. Let us secure ourselves, secure this country, so that you can go out peacefully without fearing nothing, because you are guided after the guidance of Allah Azza wa Jal. You are guided with your security people. That's my belief. That's my belief. And the diaspora people, you have plenty bunch of them. Let me call it like that. You have so many things to do. And I agree, you can do it. You have the ability, you have the capability, you have the knowledge. We can come together and rebuild this country. This country is going where I think most of us don't realize. Because if not, I don't think you will go out there and make things easy after seeing, hearing, knowing what is going on. But that being, as you all know, there are people out there who want to bring people together, want to bring political parties together. PAC, as I know, is there. CSC is here now. Ntebe mi follow ni tiko. Mi bebulu, mi sisoro kono, al nafe. Let's see the Gambia. Al nana, PAC kaf nyom, CSC kaf nyom. Others will be will be for kaf nyom. Fentin tak, will the Gambia. Nañ bo leen the Gambia ci ñëpp. PAC ak ñeneen, CSC, ñi ñëpp nañ ñu together. Nañ nekk one voice, and we sit down. The government dinañ fa des. Moomuñ ko. Loo moomut sañuloo wax ne dama fay des because moomuloo ko. Gambia ci ñoo fi may jeexalee mooy yéene our intentions is very important in whatever you do. Your intentions mooy la sa yéene lan la bëggoo ni andi yàlla. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Today, part of our responsibilities as well is when we agree on a coalition, we want to go out there and do the best that we can, as we did in many years past, to raise funds for whomever we choose to be our leader. We commit to that as well. I just want to add that to the conversation. But if there's anybody, any strangler out there or any organization that is trying to create a coalition that wants to come on board, we're open to discussion. And after today, we will be reaching out to many more. Just want to, for the record. All right, thank you. And with that said, I would like to have Council Fal, who's representing APP Solia. Mr. Fal.
I am really delighted to be here today. And I take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this meeting for calling what I did to be one of the most important events in the last few days of the year. I thank you all for also inviting the APP survey account to participate in.
Okay.
I would not go through the litany of woes that afflict this nation that have been so eloquently described by the speakers before. We all know that the Gambia is suffering from a very serious malaise. Wanton waste of limited and precious resources. A system of yakalante in which all national resources are more or less dedicated for those at the top, at the expense of those at the bottom. A government of misfits, square pegs in round holes, a crumbling infrastructure, a struggling Dallas, especially against all major crises, rising cost of living for which the government seems to have no remedy for, acute corruption that is strangling this country, a crumbling healthcare and education system that is not fit for purpose, and the list goes on and on. Our country is in a crossroads. What do we do about it? I think the current state of affairs calls for every single Gambian to step on the plate, to come and say, I am going to fight for my country. For me, that is the reason why I had to resign my job, to come and play my part. But we all do have roles to play, to make sure that we take our country back and put it firmly on the path for economic development and prosperity. And that is why people are calling for a system change. Because the system that we have has produced terrible results for the Gambian. Yesterday I was in Banjul talking to some youths, and I just wanted to put in very clear statistical terms where we stand vis-a-vis the rest of the world, so that they would understand what we did. I told them that the latest Human Development Report, the Human Development Index, shows that Gambia ranks 174th out of 191 countries that have been assessed. Many of them held their heads in shame. Why? Because we are beating only 17 countries. I think we can do it. Gambians have worked all over the world and have developed other countries. I am glad to just repeat the statement by my dear friend there, Minor two. The CCS will be happy. But here is a Gambian who left this country, went to the United States, and has achieved extraordinary things. Imagine a Gambian serving as vice president for the entire education board of the state, managing a budget of over $500 million. That is commendable. But this is what we do. We develop other countries. Why can't we come and develop our own country? I was privileged to have worked for the United Nations during my much younger days, say in East Timor, in which many of the sectors were controlled, reformed, organized, and improved by Gambians. I recall meeting the Prime Minister one day, and he told me, You people from that tiny country, you are here controlling my country. I smiled and said, behold the power of education. But we're doing it outside and not in that. And that is why it is important for us to open, to pave the way for Gambia to be able to come back our aspirations, for our ambitions to change. And that is why it is imperative that we come together. But even the processes that are aimed at bringing us together are also fragmented. I think it helps, goes without saying, that unity is strength. It is important that these processes are brought together under one banner for the purposes of saving this country. We all do say, country first. We almost think Gambia. But when we say it, do we really mean it? Are we saying country first for everybody else except me? So we have to do a deep soul searching, all of us, and ensure that when we say country first, we mean country first. And this brings me to the question of what kind of coalition are we thinking of putting together? Yes, we all need to come together. But coming together does not mean come to be. And it has to be very clear to all that the whole essence of coalition building is to avoid anointment. In several quarters, people are calling for anointment in the name of coalition building, and people like me are not buying. Because I want to believe that by putting Gambia first, we shouldn't just be striving to change Peter for all. We all want a system change. We want deep reforms. We want complete overhaul of certain institutions and the ways of doing things, including our attitudes and the way we are organized. Because of the extraordinary amount of work that we have ahead of us, we cannot simply change incapable Paul for incompetent Peter. We have to ensure that we have highly competent people who are able to steer the ship, put it back on track, and deliver on the wishes and aspirations of the Gambia. And for that to happen, we have to have a very credible process. Not a process of king-making, not a process of just going through the motions of selecting someone. But we have to have a veritable process that will bring out the best outcomes. And it has to be a process that is reliable, a process that is dependable, a process that is legal, a process with transparent criteria that would satisfy the expectations of the Gambian. But not only that, a process that would ensure post-election discipline, a process that would ensure the continuity of the coalition during the term of that coalition, during the time of that presidency, and not just limited to a few months and then the whole coalition crumbles. Trust is absolutely key. Whatever we do, we have to do it in such a way that there will be trust and confidence building measures that will assure all participants in the process that they are partners and not supporters. And this is absolutely key. Without it, we would just be engaged in a game of Nahante. Why do I say that? We have seen the examples of what has happened in the past, where coalitions do not subsist until sunset. Coalitions would last only a few months and that would be the end of it. That is not what would bring us the change that we need. We need durable arrangements that are dependable and that are reliable. And in so doing, we need the complete buy-in of all participants. All those who intend to participate in this coalition building exercise must have that complete commitment, and there has to be that complete understanding by all involved, and we must all have a common goal. If we do not have Nania killing, if we do not have a common goal, if we do not have Bena Sohla, if we do not have one same ambition, we are going to fail. And I do hope that at the beginning of this process, that commitment would be given by all. And that all would not just give the commitment on paper, but would also live by it. Only that way can we build the kind of coalition we want. Only that way can we defeat an incumbent that is so deeply entrenched, especially because of all the trappings of incumbency as it is done in the Gambia. We have to fight together in order to win together. If we fragmented, we are doomed. I thank you. Our aspirations, for our ambitions to change this. And that is why it is imperative that we come together. But even the processes that are aimed at bringing us together are also fragmented. I think it helps, goes without saying, that unity is strength. It is important that these processes are brought together under one banner for the purposes of saving this country. We all do say, country first. We all must think Gambia. But when we say it, do we really mean it? Are we saying country first for everybody else except me? So we have to do a deep soul searching, all of us, and ensure that when we say country first, we mean country first. And this brings me to the question of what kind of coalition are we thinking of putting together? Yes, we all need to come together. But coming together does not mean come to be. And it has to be very clear to all that the whole essence of coalition building is to avoid anointment. In several quarters, people are calling for anointment in the name of coalition building, and people like me are not buying. Because I want to believe that by putting Gambia first, we shouldn't just be striving to change Peter for Paul. We all want a system change. We want deep reforms. We want complete overhaul of certain institutions and the ways of doing things, including our attitudes and the way we are organized. Because of the extraordinary amount of work that we have ahead of us, we cannot simply change incapable Paul for incompetent Peter. We have to ensure that we have highly competent people who are able to steer the ship, put it back on track, and deliver on the wishes of and aspirations of the Gambia. And for that to happen, we have to have a very credible process. Not a process of king-making, not a process of just going through the motions of selecting someone. But we have to have a veritable process that will bring out the best outcomes. And it has to be a process that is reliable, a process that is dependable, a process that is legal, a process with transparent criteria that would satisfy the expectations of the Gambia. But not only that, a process that would ensure post-election discipline, a process that would ensure the continuity of the coalition during the term of that coalition, during the time of that presidency, and not just limited to a few months and then the whole coalition crumbles. Trust is absolutely key. Whatever we do, we have to do it in such a way that there would be trust and confidence building measures that would assure all participants in the process that they are partners and not supporters. And this is absolutely key. Without it, we would just be engaged in a game of nahante. Why do I say that? We have seen the examples of what has happened in the past, where coalitions do not subsist until sunset. Coalitions would last only a few months, and that would be the end of it. That is not what would bring us the change that we need. We need durable arrangements that are dependable and that are reliable. And in so doing, we need the complete buy-in of all participants. All those who intend to participate in this coalition building exercise must have that complete commitment, and there has to be that complete understanding by all involved, and we must all have a common goal. If we do not have Nania killing, if we do not have a common goal, if we do not have Bena Sohla, if we do not have one same ambition, we are going to fail. And I do hope that at the beginning of this process, that commitment would be given by all. And that all would not just give the commitment on paper, but would also live by it. Only that way can we build the kind of coalition we want. Only that way can we defeat an incumbent that is so deeply entrenched, especially because of all the trappings of incumbency as it is done in the garden. We have to fight together in order to win together. If we fragmented, we are doomed. I thank you.
The commitment and the vision that we have for Gambia. A couple of observations that I need to make. I'm reminded by a colleague here that DOI is working on a Congress, and as such, they were not able to attend. That is the statement that I got, but they acknowledged the event. And we wanted to encourage those that are going to run with the baton to leave the door open for when they're ready to come and join. Hopefully soon. I also learned from my colleague that Talib Bensouda wanted to send a representative, but there are some issues for why that individual didn't make it. So there is also acknowledgement from that end. Thank you. We have a late registrant from the People's Transformation Party, Mr. Roberts. Mr. Roberts, I want to welcome you to the stage. If you would speak, and then we will head out from there. Come on, please. Thank you.
Let me first take this opportunity to appreciate everybody who's here present, party leaders, the parties that are equally in formation, of which the People's Transformation Party belongs to. Like my good friend Dr. Gajibo, we have equally submitted our application pack and await approval from the IEC. I want to commend the CSC Coalition for System Change for providing this opportunity to us as a nation. And I acknowledge the fact that this is not the first time that you're doing it. and it shows resolve, it shows commitment, passion, and dedication to country. Something that is very imperative in terms of our political and economic development aspirations. Now, for me, in line with the theme and the name and the purpose for which we're here gathered, Coalition for System Change, I believe that in this country, 60 years of independence under 3 different administrations. The administration of our first president, Sadauda, under the leadership of the second president, Yahya Jammeh, and currently under President Adama Barrow. I think as a nation we have gone through 3 different cycles from which we are now in a position to gather ample knowledge from experience to help us chart the way forward as a nation. And I think and I believe deeply that we have an obligation, each and every single one of us who calls himself a Gambian has an obligation in terms of the purpose for which God brought us into this land called the Gambia, and no other land. And I want to draw a parallel to the point that Imam made in reference to the Gambian flag and the colors. And he opted to only speak on the red as a unifying factor amongst all of us who goes by the name Gambian. You know, we cannot speak about Gambia and not draw reference or parallel to Senegal, because they are our neighbors and we are one people, except for the scramble for Africa. When I travel to Senegal, you hardly hear a Senegalese say ki jola, ki sosela, ki akula, ki pulla. You don't hear that. The common element is Senegalese. So our mindset as a people has to transition and has to evolve. It is crucial. But in line with the theme or the name Coalition for System Change, I want to talk on 3 issues. And this is the reason why we have chosen the name transformation or the word to be part of our name. Because this country is in dire need of transformation. Leadership. Leadership. We've been talking of a lot of the discourse today in terms of this coalition building is this issue of who should be in the forefront as the leader. You know, njiit kenn du ko xëccoo. Njiit Yàlla moo ko joxe. Su la Yàlla tànnee pour nga nekk njiit di nga jiite. Kuy xëccoo njiit rek butuloo. I think sometimes we forget that we came into this world not by our will, but by the will of God. And as some of the previous speakers have alluded to, you can lead in a number of ways without being the leader. Actually, leadership for me is somebody who motivates, somebody who gets people to do what should be done. It's not about authority, and this is why I subscribe to this element of servant leadership. And that is what we need to move this country. Now, system change. God knows we need system change. And when I talk of system change, I'm talking of governance. You see, to govern, to lead, you must have a governance structure that underpins that leadership. Now, you cannot build a coalition without a governance framework, as has been said and referenced. And this is why there are guidelines. But as a country, governance is a major challenge. And it is a challenge because the institutions that should underpin governance are non-existent. Mr. Ture made the point, Dr. made the point that with the AKI challenge, the acute kidney, can't remember the eye, incident, people were calling, remove Dr. Samata, remove Dr. Samata. But you remove Dr. Samata and you bring somebody else, the problem is not going to go away. Why? Because the system that underpins the medical apparatus of this country is wanted. The institutions are not there. 16 departments. You know, we talk about the 16 departments of the Ministry of Health. We can go beyond that. The number of ministries that we have in this country, for a country the size of 2.6 million people. Unbelievable. The last point I want to talk on, as relates to this issue at hand, is national security. Now, when we think of national security, we think of it from a military point of view. Doctor mentioned earlier the issues of the challenges vis-a-vis rice production at Jahali Bacha and what Jahali Bacha could have been, an opportunity lost. We can talk on so many opportunities that this country had. National security from the perspective of health security. National security from the perspective of food security. National security from the perspective of basic human security in terms of burglars not busted into someone's house, burglary into someone's house, and not being able to make inroads in terms of a recovery. For me, I believe that the political parties that are in the position should and must come together. I don't know what our fate is going to be in terms of our application to the IEC. We're hopeful, but we'll see, because we know we live in funny times in this country. But irrespective, united, we stand. Divided, we fall. And I'll end by saying, and drawing reference to the first president of this country, you know, there's always an advantage of being first. Vox populi, vox Dei. The voice of the people is the voice of God. And if we truly believe that, then I think the entire opposition must come together under one umbrella to do what it is that we envisage, we endeavor, and the vision we have for this country. On that note, thank you very much.
Mr. Roberts, you mentioned about leadership. I think fundamentally the responsibilities of a leader are three. You manage, you lead, you control the resources that are entrusted to you, whether those are resources of the country or resources of a company or resources of whatever type. Those are your fundamental responsibilities. In discharging those responsibilities, my belief that there are 3 guiding principles that have never failed me. Be fair, be firm, be consistent. There is nothing, in my view, that would make it much easier for you to govern that way. If you are fair, if you are firm with your decisions, and if you're consistent. One has to be predictable. On my leisure time, I referee soccer in the States for colleges and universities. And sometimes I have a bad day, and the players were like, "Referee, you are horrible." I said, "Well, at least I'm consistent." You can predict me. And that's what I'm getting at. The individual who's leading needs to be consistent, not forgetting the responsibilities that are entrusted on them. And I'm hopeful. I heard Dr. John said in his speech, I think if we win 2026, I am saying when we win 2026, right? And for those of us that are in this room, I counted 63 people at some point. And I thank you for the courage to be here. Why? This is part of patriotism. This is part of doing for your country what other people don't want to do. I have a very high respect and regard for the political party leaders, because you're taking up a responsibility that a lot of people don't want to take. I did the math. So 63 people out of 2.5 million. The percentage is 0.0000252% of the population that I am. Can you imagine that? If we are 3 million in population, the percentage is 0.00021%. So you matter, and you are making a difference. With that said, I'll call my favorite minister, Mr. Chappell. Please join me to the table and give a word to. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Myla. My name is Demba Jao, a former journalist, a former cabinet minister, and now I'm retired, so I'm at home. Here on my personal capacity, I'm not a member of any political party, and I'm not representing any group here. I was actually invited to this forum, and also happened to have met all friends of mine here. People like Eva Fun, Myla Ture, Joe Sambu, and of course, Lamin J. Dawo, and a few others I'm sure around here. We have long been in the trenches fighting against the old system that was here. So when I heard about this forum, I was definitely happy to be associated with it. I think now the message is quite clear to all the political parties. At least today we've had a few political leaders here, leaders of political parties, who've said something, and it appears that they are convinced that it's important, very, very important, that the parties need to come together if they have any chance of defeating the incumbent. And we know what has happened. Of course, there are a lot of lessons to learn from 2016. In 2016, we had this coalition. Of course, as I always say, it was not Adam Barrow who won the election, but it was Yaya Jammeh who lost the election. I mean, if they had anybody ahead of that coalition, any member of that coalition 2016 would have won the election. So it is not for even President Barrow to say that he was the one who killed the lion. It was actually a collective will of the Gambian people that killed the lion, not Adam Barrow. So, I mean, there are a lot of lessons to to be learned from 2016. It is one thing to remove an incumbent, but the next thing is what are you going to do to manage the system? And that's where we went wrong in 2016. I mean, nobody thought about the day after, after Gambia had gone. So you see what we have got in hand. So I think these are all lessons that everybody should learn. And let's hope and pray that, the different opposition parties will put that into consideration and think about coming together and form a coalition. I understand there are, of course, coalition for system changes here, but there are other groups also that are working towards the same, in trying to build up a coalition. And I don't think there should be any kind of competition between the different groups. In fact, I would even advocate for them to try and see how best they can be able to, amalgamate, because they have the same objective, and that is to bring the different political parties together to form a formidable coalition for 2026. And I think, you people are thinking about that. It's important that you reach out to other groups which are doing a similar thing, so that we can all come together and see how best we can be able to mobilize the different political parties. Anyway, on that note, I thank you very much, but I'm definitely happy that you people have found time and resources to bring people together, and I hope everybody would definitely make something out of this. Thank you.
Confident that the person coming will not still cling onto the 1997 Constitution and continue to rule. This is the problem. This is why it is becoming a stiff, like push and pull here and there for the coalition to at least get the parties together to form a coalition. It's becoming difficult. Why? Because no one trusts the other. We've seen what happened in 2016. So some people are afraid that even when a coalition comes with all the agreements, some people can just easily override the agreement and then do anything they want once they get into the State House. We have always been calling for it. Twice we've gone out to the streets. We saw a few people. We were surprised that the parties that are saying they want change are not interested in the document that can bring the change. It's a big surprise. We are really surprised. And we are really disappointed. In fact, that's why I am here. I wanted to just talk about it. Unfortunately, we are not given time to at least. But it's okay. It's fine that I have to raise this point and then let you know that.
System change, you've been pretty much diligent. We have received about 2 letters from you. So I assume that all of the political parties would have already been involved. And then at the beginning, we had that, you have had said that they said that they would be here, but minimum we should have a representative from some of these major ones, and we did not have that. And that, in fact, seems to me as a big problem going forward. So with that being in mind, what do we do? In our group, we discussed that we must have a political liaisons so that we can see how do we infiltrate all of these people so that they can be able to work together. Because there are tendencies where people will sit and say, you have to come and join us. In fact, you as citizens coming all the way from United States, all the way to here with all the logistics and the effort is showing the inertia or the inability for our oppositions to come together. They cannot say that they have not been incentivized on this particular issue. And that is something that we really need to really look into, because 2 oppositions will fragment and we will lose the whole end game of being here. So therefore, we commend the fact that, you are here all the way to support this process, but we have to go after all of these people one by one and ensure that they are all coming on the table to know. We have to leave no stone unturned. And secondly as well, we always talk about youth. You just spoke about youth here. And of course, that needs to be visible. Sometimes we have to move from tokenism. Our presidential candidate is here from the youth and he wasn't given the speech and as the podium. And, we have dinosaurs that were up there. I myself am an aspiring candidate. So when we say something is for the youth, without the youth, it's not the youth. And they are 60 to 70% of the people out there. And of course, if we are moving towards almost 1 million voters by 2026, I'm sure that more than 60% of them would be youth, especially between the ages of 18 and 23. So we are talking about a whole demographic dividend that is out there that need to be harnessed. So we must always center them. And as well, civil societies as well. We called all of these people here. We must not just give the stage to these politicians to just speak to us. civil societies and youth must always be represented, as well as women as well, so that we ensure inclusivity in all what we're doing. But all in all, I want to commend you for this initiative, and be rest assured you have our support and our strength to ensure that the coalition becomes a must. Because if the coalition fails, they have to understand that we will not be going against President Barrow. Once there is no coalition, our daily work will be to go against them, the opposition. Every day when we wake up from bed, we will come after you, because you would have cost the Gambian people this particular change that we so richly deserve. Thank you very much.
Meeting. It's not just to get political party leaders come here to discuss coalition. More importantly, we want each and every Gambian citizen to own this. You are not here just to represent your organization. You are here as a citizen of this country, no matter your age. We want every Gambian, young and old, to take ownership of this coalition. It's not only, we will do all our efforts to get all the opposition to come together to form this coalition. We've been working on this for the past 2 years. But more importantly, we want every Gambian to take this coalition as your own. It's yours. It's your
sign language interpretation to facilitate communication for deaf people in hospital, police stations, and many other sectors. My answer to this is, we as a government will make sure that the human rights of every Gambian will be taken into account. Every Gambian will enjoy their human rights. As a person with disability, the right to be represented is a human rights issue. Yes, you have a right to be represented. Women have a right to be represented. Every citizen of this country have a right to be represented, and also to get access to basic services. Yes, we will make sure that people with disabilities are taken care of and their human rights are met. There is no question about that. Just like I said earlier, this is a coalition. Every Gambian. Nobody is left behind. Every Gambian is part of this coalition. And lastly, I will recognize our elder who stayed with us all this time. And I will call upon him to give us a word of wisdom. Like the word says, and for me, don't care. I will call on Mr. Diba to give us the word of wisdom.
Members of the High Table, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the invitees, the guests here, I express our gratitude to the organizers for inviting us to this very important forum. And our decision to invite us here is a testament to your commitment, okay, and our collective commitment to ensuring that we go through a small election process in 2026 and work towards attaining the objectives and the vision and mission for which we exist. There's no doubt we've learned very important lessons from previous elections. And to avoid a repeat those costly mistakes, okay, we need to keep in view the recommendations emanating from various committees and take stock from those proceedings and incorporate some of the observations into what we have already had in our constitution, in the recent denomination. And finally, I was talking to someone who told me, yes, diaspora is important, but let's look at ECOWAS as a region. There's a good number of Gambians in ECOWAS region. So it sounds like an interesting idea to have a secretariat coordinate the interests of the Gambians in ECOWAS region. Once again, thank you very much. This is a coalition of civil society, and we have a task at hand. The task is to bring about system change. And system change is a very broad concept. We need to unpack it, and I'm sure the organizers have been able to unpack it, okay, and sell it to the community. Like Mr. Poole said, the one is only part of the government corporation, electorate. So we hope people will affiliate with political parties. We hope people will take into account the manifesto of this great coalition and work towards system change. We thank you very much. And I have no doubt there will be a code of conduct for members of the coalition. But that's important. In a country where political campaigns can turn very sour, in hate speech, and there's a lot of undesirable elements in government politics. So for us to control those factors, we need to have ethics and of course code of conduct. We thank you very much. And finally, we are of age men, and we should commit ourselves to passing on the baton to the younger generations. Let's talk to them, let's recruit them into the political process, advise and guide them. We thank you very much.
Real microphone officials. I think really we would commend the efforts from our coalition for system change, and of course my colleague that are sitting over there from the People's Alliance for Change, and all the parties that came here today. Believe me, everything starts with a spark. And seeing Lawyer and J. Damo here together with Honorable SFL, it fills my heart. And of course, Mr. Benjamin Roberts is sitting over there, and then a representative from Mama Kande as well. This already is building hope. And we hope that the United Democratic Party, together with all the remaining parties, will also see this as a start towards the Gambia that we truly want. And this is what the aspirations of the citizenry is. If we look at it clearly, there is only one status quo. If we do not unite as one entity, there is no way that we are going to win. I have been across the Gambia the length and the breadth. Sometimes I listen to what the locals have said. I have hosted citizens' assemblies in 295 villages of the North Bank region, speaking to 7 district chiefs. So I understand the psyche of our people. Life is hard in Gambia, very hard. So if you give me $2,000, you make my day. And believe me, it takes a long time.